Ciao. Anyway, so
I regret voting for Trump. You guys told me I would, and here we are, just barely over a month after he was sworn in, and I have so many reasons, so many disappointments, and I've lost so many rights as a woman already. So I guess I'll just start listing the reasons why. So many rights gone as a woman. Starting with did I lose rights? I thought I did. See, I was told so many times by the left that I lost all of my rights because I'm a woman. So I thought for sure I did, but now that I'm trying to come up with a list, it's just not coming to the tip of my tongue here. I don't know. Maybe we'll try again after I do some research.
Take a listen.
So she opened with, "I lost all my rights as a woman," then stood there for 30 seconds trying to name one and came up completely empty. That pause was longer than most TikToks, bro. This is what happens when you repeat talking points without actually knowing what they mean. She literally said, "I was told by the left that she lost rights." Being told you lost something is not the same as actually losing it. Do your own research before you record yourself, sis. Please.
To these women and tell me if you believe anything that they're saying.
Hi, everyone. So I'm with one of my really good friends. She voted for Trump.
Regret.
And you know what? Well, yes. But guess what? It's not time for us to do that. The time has come for us to figure this shit out.
No, we already had it figured out. You don't get a pass. You don't get to call for unity now. Calling for unity now is like offering Caitlyn Jenner a hand. You're a little too late.
People want to hear that you regret your vote.
As of right now, I'm very unhappy with where we are economically.
There we are. You mean you're getting economically hit? Who the fuck would have guessed that?
But guess what?
We're all
This
gonna
needed
together.
to happen. We needed for him to win, rigged or not, for him to win and for all of us to come together. So what we are saying tonight, let's come together. Exactly. Let's come together. We're all Americans.
Stop the division.
No, this didn't need to happen. Stop the division? Where the fuck were you on January 6th? Where were you when there was good people on both sides? Stop the division. Where were you when he was degrading women? Where were you during these things, huh? Nope. Fuck around and find out. No unity here.
Well, the companies pay the tariffs, not us.
What's one of your biggest issues?
My biggest issue is probably going to be inflation, because I'm a business owner and it hit me hard. Because I sell T-shirts and all that stuff.
Your T-shirts are made in the USA?
No, my blanks, no. See, that's the problem. They're not, because a blank in USA cost me $20. I can't afford that. But see, that's...
Hold up. She voted for the guy whose entire platform was bring manufacturing back to America. Her business depends on cheap overseas blanks, and now she's shocked that import costs are going up. Since this was the plan, this was never hidden. American blanks cost $20. You knew that. The whole policy was designed to make foreign goods expensive, so you'd be forced to buy American. And the wildest part of this clip is watching people argue about who pays tariffs. Spoiler alert, it's the importer, which means it's her, and that cost gets passed to the customer. This isn't politics anymore. This is just supply chain math. You can't vote for economic nationalism and then be mad when your import-based business gets torched. Pick a lane.
That's the thing Trump's talking about. Manufacturing. All these companies have sold out over to the sweatshops. If we tax them, hit tariffs, the same item they're making over there will cost the same to make over here.
We pay the tariffs.
The companies pay the tariffs, not us. Anything.
China doesn't pay the tariffs. We do when they come in.
No, it doesn't work like that. No, whoever's importing is paying the taxes, man.
Do you think that? Do you believe that?
No, because I was trying to say, because I sell merch as well.
So if I sell you something for $10, right? And then you're going to sell it to him for $20.
Exactly.
But then I make you pay me $15 for it. Are you still going to sell it to him for $20?
Am I going to sell it to him for $20?
If I raise the price $5?
Oh, it's gonna have to go up.
Right. So
Yeah, the consumer foots the bill.
Who pays the tariffs?
Foreign countries pay the tariffs.
Okay.
And let's talk about
No.
Ukraine.
Wait, we're talking about tariffs. So the product comes in from China, it gets on a ship,
Right.
and then it comes in, and I'm the American manufacturer. I'm going to use that stuff from China. Who paid the tariff on it?
The Chinese government pays the tariff.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. You're thinking because you're paying more for that product. Because the Chinese product...
It's going to be more expensive. It is.
But look what's happening now, guys. You go to Europe. I travel to China often. I travel to Europe often. You don't see like a Buick in China. But you see these Asian, you see these BMWs, Audi, and all that. Why do you think?
I really need you to understand is who is paying the tariff?
The government that is manufacturing that product. Is all we're saying is this. Look, I just want it to be even. Instead of us paying 400% of tariffs. How you doing? Hey, good. I don't want. I want to.
I'm an importer and exporter.
Yeah.
For 20 years.
Okay.
When a product comes into the U.S., there's something called a tariff sheet.
Okay.
I, as the buyer of that product, follow U.S. law and pay the tariff.
I'm not moving my production to the United States. Are you nuts? I make everything in Italy because it's better quality, not because it's cheaper. You want me to move my production of glasses out of the country that invented glasses to the United States? You may as well tell me to move my tortilla factory that makes the world's best tacos al pastor to Italy. And another thing, because I'm fired up. These companies that claim to make eyewear in the U.S., guess where they get all their materials? It's all made in China. Guess where they're putting the last screw in the U.S.? Every single person I work with at every link in my supply chain is a small family-owned company. I don't care if they're based in Italy, if they're based in Mexico, if they're based in the U.S.
So this story is absolutely wild, and it shows how Donald Trump's threats towards Canada are affecting businesses here in America. An owner of a popular inn in Old Orchard Beach, Maine, says that easily 90% of his business has disappeared because Canadians represent a great amount of his clientele, and they are boycotting travel to the United States. Take a listen to his story here, and remember to add the Midas Touch podcast on Apple and Spotify right now. We've got some
That whole glasses manufacturer rant was actually fire, though. Dude said, I'm not moving my production from Italy to the US. You may as well tell me to move my tortilla factory from Mexico to Italy. That line hit because it's true. Certain products have centuries of expertise built into specific regions. You don't just relocate that overnight because of a policy tweet. And all these small business owners just watched their supply chains that took decades to build get nuked in one election cycle. Nobody wargamed this part out. They thought economic patriotism meant everyone else would suffer, but their business would be fine. Turns out economic grenades don't check voter registration before they explode.
great new interviews out.
This has been a family business for 50 years. You got to take into the fact how the Canadians perceive this, and they are incredibly pissed off.
We met Sterling Morse in Old Orchard Beach, Maine. He owns the Point of View Inn, which is only about 150 miles from the Canadian border.
We have been here.
He says the majority of his regular customers are French Canadians.
Very traditional people, families that take the same room, the same dates every year.
Not this year. Sterling says most of his Canadian customers have canceled, fed up with President Donald Trump's antagonistic rhetoric toward Canada. There's the threat of tariffs, too, and lately Trump has suggested redrawing the border between the two countries.
It's affecting at least 90% of my business.
Are you saying you've had 90% of your business canceled this year?
Easily.
Hundreds of businesses have closed today in Minnesota to protest Trump's mass ICE raids. So organizers are calling the mass economic blackout a day of truth and freedom. And the strike has asked for no work, no school, and no shopping. In addition to this, the strikers have 4 major demands. Number 1, that ICE and other immigration agencies leave Minnesota immediately. 2, legal accountability for the officer who killed Renee Nicole Good. 3, no more federal funding for ICE and an investigation into ICE's human and constitutional violations. And 4, for Minnesota companies to become Fourth Amendment businesses, which means they will refuse ICE entry and stop any economic activity with ICE. So this strike comes as Minneapolis has seen around 3,000 arrests, at least 2 shootings, and at least 4 children being detained by ICE. And the economic blackout isn't the only part of the general strike either, but massive crowds turned out for the march against ICE in downtown Minneapolis. It says a lot about people's resolve when they turn out to march against ICE in negative 20-degree weather.
Hey, MAGA, I've compiled a list of ways that your president has ruined the American economy to the point of no return. So I'm going to be rapid firing that so your simple brain can go ahead and comprehend the damage you've done to the United States with your vote. Without further ado, let's dive in. First and foremost...
Okay, before she goes rapid fire, let's talk about that. Main inn owner, 90% of his business gone because Canadians are boycotting American travel. That's not a dip, that's a full economic collapse. This has been a family business for 50 years, and it got destroyed in one political season because someone kept calling Canada a fake country and threatening border changes. Here's what people don't get. When you disrespect your neighbors, they don't argue with you, they just stop showing up. Canadians didn't write angry letters, they just canceled their reservations and took their money elsewhere. And that inn owner is now standing in an empty building wondering how patriotism bankrupted him. Consequences don't care about your intentions, bro. They only care about your actions.
Was the tariff war that he initiated with China. I'm not going to dive into it. I can if you guys would like me to. But essentially, this has eliminated access to manufacturing goods. China is a global powerhouse for manufacturing. The entire global economy depends upon Chinese manufacturing. This has eliminated access to a lot of manufacturing goods we need, like precious minerals, to build and manufacture tech devices in the United States, tech devices as a fundamental whole, fashion, and most importantly, medicine, antibiotics. So the goods that we do still have access to, we are now paying tariffs on, and tariffs are not paid by China. They are paid by the importer, which in turn causes a price increase for you. On day one of his presidency, he signed an executive order abolishing the SAFES Act established by the Biden administration to bail out farms in red states during the pandemic, leading to a lot of foreclosures and auction of American farms. And if your American farm is still standing, well, then half or all of your workforce has been deported or committed to a concentration camp that your tax dollars fund. Now, we're just getting started, but this is where things start to get interesting. The tariff war that he started with the entire global economy, accompanied by the fact that he's erecting concentration camps in the United States of America and funding a genocide half a world over, giving billionaires tax breaks, basically forced the entire globe to boycott red state exports. So they are specifically not buying anything that comes from a state that voted for President Donald Trump. And a perfect example of the fuck around and find out with this is the American whiskey corporations. 3 separate whiskey companies have filed bankruptcy in the month of July alone, eliminating 23,000 jobs from the American job market.
3 whiskey companies filed bankruptcy in 1 month. 23,000 jobs gone. The world stopped buying American beef and switched to Australia. Countries are now buying lumber, medicine, and petroleum directly from the source instead of using America as the middleman. Look, some of her numbers might need fact-checking, but the structural argument is sound. When you start simultaneous trade wars with everyone, you don't just lose today's business, you lose the relationship. And once global supply chains reroute around you, they don't come back just because you change your mind later. The infrastructure moves, the contracts get signed elsewhere. And you become optional. That's the part that's genuinely terrifying. It's not about this quarter's earnings. It's about becoming irrelevant in the global economy permanently.
But here's the thing. The world didn't stop at just our whiskey. They also said, we're not going to take American beef anymore. Instead of buying beef from the United States of America, they're now getting it from Australia instead. So that's another export we lost to the global economy. Now, we all know that America didn't just enter into a tariff war with China, but also with our neighbors, Canada and Mexico. America's 3 largest exports are lumber, medicine, and petroleum, all of which we broker, meaning we buy low and we sell high. We used to get our medicine from China, our lumber from Canada, and our petroleum from Mexico. Every single economy in the world has essentially cut out America as the middleman and decided to buy lumber, petroleum, and medicine directly from the source, meaning we are no longer the export giants for these 3 major exports that sustain our economy. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. That's fine. We still have the automotive industry. That's a heavy export header for the United States. Wrong. 5 foreign manufacturing giants that have plants in the United States have announced that they will be closing all of their plants, specifically to move them to Mexico just to boycott the presidential administration in the United States of America. And you're like, that's fine. I'll just buy American. Actually, you won't, because both Ford and Chrysler have announced that they have no profits to report for the first and second quarter of 2025 due to the tariff wars and the global boycotts, which is going to lead to massive layoffs with no government bailout, because Democrats give bailouts, not aristocrats. If you're starting to panic, just wait. There's more. China has actually signed a trade treaty with Mexico to build a canal going directly through Mexico, eliminating the need for the Panama Canal, further rendering the United States completely fucking useless in the global economy. If you're banking on the made-up power of the American dollar to save the American economy, that's not going to happen either. Mexico and Brazil just signed a treaty completely eliminating the American dollar as their primary form of currency used to settle all foreign and domestic debts. And furthermore, they are creating their own bank. Do you understand the significance of this? Probably not. Let's dive in deeper. You guys wanted to make America great again, when in reality what you did was you made Mexico great. Because it doesn't stop there. Mexico and Canada have signed another trade treaty eliminating America from what was formerly known as the North American Free Trade Association and previously renamed to I can't fucking remember what. But these neighbors are not only no longer trading with us, but they are no longer our allies. They are not providing us any export goods for us to fucking broker. Home Depot has announced that they will be pulling a lot of American locations, once again, costing thousands of Americans their jobs, because they are now investing $1.3 billion in guess who? Guess, Mexico. And this is because they anticipate a massive boom in their housing market. The rest of the world knows that Mexico and Canada have picked up the economic ball that America has dropped, and they are making trade agreements and investments specifically with Mexico. So essentially, Canada
and Mexico are signing trade deals with each other, cutting America out. Home Depot is investing over $1 billion in Mexico, and foreign auto plants are relocating there specifically to escape U.S. policy. The irony is almost too perfect. The whole campaign was built on stop Mexico from taking our jobs. And the actual result is Mexico getting the foreign investment, the trade partnerships, and the economic growth that America used to get. You literally created the exact outcome you were trying to prevent. And the automotive workers in Michigan and Ohio who voted, thinking their jobs would be protected, are now watching those same factories move to Mexico. Not because of globalism or Democrats, but because of the administration they voted for. Bro, the universe has a sick sense of humor sometimes.
And Mexico are now exporting everything we used to, while eliminating the use of the American dollar for the global economy. The automotive industry is hitting a record-breaking low in the United States, so you can expect massive layoffs to sales and service staff. And we're just getting started on the global economy. Now we're going to talk about the home side of things. With them defunding the CDC and the FDA, your food and your drug is no longer regulated, which is why we see a massive uptick in E. coli outbreaks. But you don't see that because Fox News doesn't report that. Fox News also does not report that nobody will buy any food or drug from the United States of America because of the lax regulations on the FDA and the CDC. They know that what we eat here is deadly and poisonous. That is what you eat, and they refuse to buy. With America defunding the CDC and backing off the WHO, the World Health Organization, we've also seen a massive uptick in HIV and AIDS cases in southern cities like Houston, Miami, Atlanta, and oddly enough, the Carolinas. So that's fun. Now I realize there's a lot of off-grid American survivalists who are like, I'm not worried about E. coli or HIV. That doesn't bother me, or the slow burn of diabetes and cancer doesn't affect you because you live off grid. You should take a lot of comfort in the fact that the EPA has been completely defunded. That's right, the Environmental Protection Agency, which is responsible for making sure that big corporations in the United States don't poison the soil you grow your food in, the water you fish in, or the air you breathe. That no longer exists. So even you off-gridders aren't safe. Now, if you're just a regular American...
The EPA getting defunded is one of those things that sounds boring until you realize what it actually means. That's the agency that stops corporations from poisoning your soil, your water, and your air. The off-grid survivalist types thought they were outside the system. She just told them, nah, bro. The EPA was protecting your land, too. You can't grow food in poisoned soil. You can't fish in contaminated water. You can't breathe toxic air. And with the CDC and FDA also getting gutted, food safety is basically on the honor system now. Nobody is outside the blast radius on this. That's the point she's making. You can't opt out of environmental protection and public health infrastructure. When it collapses for everyone.
Like I am, you should know that if you make less than $200,000 a year, which is 90% of the United States, you are going to pay more in taxes. Majority of Americans are going to see a $1,500 increase when they file next year. The tourist economy is at an all-time low, specifically for any state that voted red, because countries are specifically boycotting red states in the United States, as previously mentioned. But also, the United States as a whole has been deemed unsafe to travel to because we are on a global genocide watch list. And a lot of countries are advising their citizens not to come to the United States, specifically because of ICE kidnappings. And Vegas is a perfect example of that. It is a ghost town. They've already laid off majority of bellhops and valets. They've just announced massive layoffs, and most CEOs, CFOs, and COOs are now completely resigning from these monstrous Vegas hotels. On top of our president defunding the Center for Disease Control, the Food and Drug Administration, and the Environmental Protection Agency, he has also defunded the Department of Education, the National Weather Association, FEMA, Medicaid, and food stamps. And this is what the kicker is, right? Everybody in the entire world, and I literally mean the entire fucking world, understands the concept of taxation. You tax everybody in this specific country, so you have a pool of resources to ensure that the people you tax have access to programs like free healthcare, like free education, like upgraded infrastructure, unemployment, and where applicable, bailouts for things like whiskey companies going under, automotive manufacturers, or unemployment for every single fucking state. Every single country in the world understands that the taxes you collect from the citizens are for the citizens. The only people who cannot register this concept are, in fact, Republicans in the United States. And what the fuck? Let me just paint this picture crystal clear for all the Magladites who refuse to accept reality as if that's going to somehow stop it from happening to them. The fall of America is not going to be the fall of the United States of America. There's no revolution or civil war coming. There's not a hostile takeover by a fascist dictator, even all-out anarchy for that matter, because red states don't have the economy to launch any type of war in defense or support of the current administration. And do you want to know why? Because blue states are the American economy. We make the American economy. We are donor states, and they call us donor states because we pay federal taxes that bail you guys out. You are the very welfare babies that you try to vote against. And at some point, we are going to get tired of you perpetually voting against your own self-interest. And just like the rest of the world, we're going to cut you the fuck off. We're going to stop paying federal taxes, and you're going to be forced to live in squalor and poverty. And your president is not coming to save you. You think the man who cut your children's education so he could build a $200 million golden ballroom is going to save you? The man who cut your food stamps so he could have a $91 million military parade or a $31 million security detail so he could go fucking golfing is going to come and save you? No, nobody is coming to.
She just said education got cut so the president could have a $91 million military parade and a $31 million security detail for golf trips. Then asked, is he coming to save you? And answered her own question, no, bro, that's not even political spin anymore. That's just budget math, and the donor state fee argument she made earlier is something people really need to sit with. Blue states pay more in federal taxes than they get back. Red states receive more than they pay, so the people screaming loudest about government dependency are literally being subsidized by the states they call socialist. That's not an insult, that's just Treasury Department data. Look, this woman came in hot, and not every claim is perfectly sourced, but the core argument about dismantling every safety net while alienating every trade partner simultaneously, that's not hysteria, that's just cause and effect, and the voters who are losing their businesses right now are learning that the expensive way. Nobody's coming to bail you out when you voted to gut the bailout programs.
Save you. Do you understand that? When you can't eat the food because it's too poisonous, you can't grow it because your soil is poisoned, you can't fish it because your lakes and rivers are, you're breathing in the poison. And then when you get so sick from your fucking government poisoning you, you're not going to be able to work. You won't have any unemployment to collect, you won't have food stamps to feed you your poisonous fucking food, and you won't have health care to treat you. You better hope to dear God that a tornado or a flood takes you out, because the alternative is dying a slow, sick, impoverished death in the version of America that you fucking voted for. Jesus fucking Christ.